Welcome back to the Leadership Forum, a space where corporate leaders share insightful takes on the human side of ingenuity. I'm Saquib Vali, explorer. Say hi to the future. The leader with us today is James Kemble, managing partner fishRecruit. James and I have interacted over the years as a client, and what I found refreshing is that fishRecruit cared as much about the candidate as they did about me as their client. And their process, due diligence about finding a match versus putting bums in seats, really cool. As the marketplace starts to tilt towards the hirer as compared to the hiree, with news of layoffs and a move towards tighter people policies, I thought might be just the time to have this conversation with James. I mean, yesterday, Tiff Mecklem at one of the Canadian Bankers Association said, you know what, I think the economy might not be as strong as we thought it to be. And the people who get most hit by it are younger people and newcomers. So we will get into all of that with James. But for now, welcome, James, and thank you for taking time out from your highly resourceful schedule.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to see you, and really appreciate you inviting me to chat with you today. And yeah, looking forward to spending the time with you.
So, James, let's let our listener hear in your voice, because I basically introduced you as managing partner of fishRecruit, but
Yep.
you're a lot more than that. How would you want to introduce yourself to them and give us a sense of the macro hiring picture and practices you seeing it all play out?
Sure, absolutely. So I have spent my career focused on talent acquisition within recruitment. So this has afforded me over the years the great opportunity to work across many different industries, work with hundreds of different companies across different roles, and literally hearing thousands of stories about careers and what companies are trying to accomplish. And what I love most about my role is all of that involves people. So hearing people's stories, hearing what they're trying to accomplish, is really what the best part of my job is. And I'm fortunate to have been doing that for a while. fishRecruit is the firm that I started, and we focus on helping clients attract and attain the talent that's going to help them grow their business. We work across various industries and different functions, really kind of helping organizations bring in the type of people that are a great fit for their organization. They're going to help kind of advance that. So that's kind of who I am. How is the market, the macro level of the market? We're a little bit of a thin slice of it. You had mentioned new Canadians and you mentioned people starting their careers. Um, Clients tend to hire students and early people in their careers directly. So we actually don't do a lot of that. So our exposure to what that is like is it's somewhat limited from a business sense. Now, the amount of clients that are referring their kids to me to spend time to help them get launched, and that is a nice byproduct because I get to get the trust of them to try to help their young person launch their career. But we are more in the middle management to executive kind of range. And from a macro level, obviously, if you live kind of headline to headline, the unemployment rate has been steadily increasing over the last kind of number of months. But if you look at over like the past 10 years, with the exception of a, sort of a period between 2020 and 2021 where, unemployment spiked, is we're generally at very normal levels. So it is more of a little bit of the sky is falling headline to headline, but actually we're somewhat in a normal kind of market there. But we had seen a lot of hiring kind of slow down earlier in this year and in previous year because there was a lot of noise around interest rates and what was going to happen, waiting to curb inflation, which has been impactful to businesses and individuals alone, all of those people together. But everyone was kind of saying that I was speaking to, I was spending lots of time talking to different sources that we would probably start experiencing a stronger back half of 2024. So I wouldn't, and over the last number of months, that certainly is what we're seeing. Interest rates have obviously started to come down. Inflation seems to be responding the way people were hoped. And we're starting to see clients kicking off even more projects than they were before. So I would say that on a kind of macro level with the part of the market that we're servicing is that it seems like we're turning the corner, if I'm not calling that too soon, and starting to see things kind of moving back to our normal state.
All right, so let's hone in on your primary area of practice, and also the other side to this whole conversation that's been going on for a while now, which is around return to office, right?
Sure.
And if you think about your midsection,
Mhm.
middle management, um, I'll go on a limb here. My hypothesis would be they'd be the most impacted because these are young families thinking about daycare, thinking about healthcare, thinking about caregiving. How's that playing out as a macro trend as well in how you're thinking about how people are thinking about retaining the position that they're in, thinking about moving because they'd like some flexibility, et cetera, et cetera. So how's that playing out? Let's go there for a second.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that change is difficult no matter, what that change is, because there's a period of an adjustment. We saw this before the work from home became so prevalent because of the requirements to do so. And even that was a transition and took a little bit of time to kind of get there. And then everybody we were very, very adaptive, and everybody adapted and was able to make that work. And now we're seeing the sort of coming back of that into largely companies are landing more on a hybrid model. So it's not going back to all work in office, but we're certainly seeing that the requirements to be in office are increasing. And there's no question that does have an impact on all of those things that you had said, on whether people have relocated, which is an issue, and when they have to commute back and that. And so we're sort of in that period where a few of the front leaders are kind of demanding higher in office type of experience there, and how it's going to impact. So we're definitely seeing this as something that people are having to challenge and kind of manage through. But I think it's going to continue to happen, and we're gonna reach a new stasis point of where people have figured out what's worked for them and their families, and companies have figured out what has worked for them. But there's no question there's trade-offs on kind of either side of it.
So James, let's peel the onion a bit. So
Sure.
so every time you and I have had a conversation around hiring or candidates or whatever, I've always found you extremely thoughtful in how you think about fit and match and etc. Is there a skill area or a fit area that you have had to think or rethink based on who you might be putting in a role, whether that was in office versus hybrid? Like, is there some area of a conversation there? Should people be leveling up a skill in order to best fit that situation?
In my experience, it's more of a Boolean yes no statement. Like when
Hmm,
we're talking to an individual about a job opportunity, one of the first couple of questions that we often get into is what is their work policy? So in our experience, people will either move forward knowing what that looks like, or they will back themselves out of the process knowing what that looks like. So I haven't really seen it transfer into an adaptive skill. It's more of them making a choice on how they
got it.
want their relationship to work to be.
I understand. I understand. Yeah, I mean, these are just things we were curious about, and
Yeah.
you're the best person to address it. So James, one of the human conditions that we at Say Hi to the Future explore is around resilience. So speak to stories of resilience you might have witnessed both either on the candidate side or on the hiring company side that our listeners could garner some useful insights from.
Yeah, yeah. Resilience is a really interesting piece. I kind of would look to define it as the ability to sort of react to a negative circumstance or an experience and kind of moving forward from that. And my business is people, and job change can be a very stressful time for an individual, especially if the job change is not planned and was not sort of expected. So sometimes that happens, which is unfortunate. And I've seen that the people that are best suited to deal with that are people that come with a strong sense of what they want and who they are. So if they have a clear understanding of what types of roles, what types of industries, and are able to figure out kind of what their objective is, they tend to be able to focus in and sort of block out some of the white noise that can come into one's job search. And then once you know that, the next key is having an effective plan. A lot of times, if you look at what success is in a job search, it's either being employed or not employed.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a scenario where someone could be living in what is referred to as the gap. And it's the gap between those two states. It's like the horizon. If you're always trying to just wait for that horizon, it's always moving and it's not always kind of there. So, and maybe horizon's not the best example, but in that gap of being between employed and not employed can be very, very stressful on the individual. So I find that people have a very good plan during that time of the activities they're going to do, the focus they're going to have, and all of that is they're able to embrace the journey, not necessarily just the destination. Obviously, getting a great new role is going to alleviate all of that scenario. But if while you're in it, if you're able to be clear on what you want and have an actionable plan of how to get there, I find that people are far more suited to deal with this kind of resilient period of time that's required there, because there's a lot of pressure on people. There's economic pressures, there's pressures of not knowing what's next. So that's been, in my experience, the people that navigate that the best. On companies, the other side of your question, companies have shown resilience. What I have seen is we came through a hiring period that was extremely active. So, 2021, 2022, the market was running at a level that was not normal. So you would see people that were receiving multiple job offers when they put their hand up to look for roles. There was high pressure competition on compensation to bid up those things. So there was a lot of variables that were going on that, in my opinion, caused companies to act in not normal ways to hire. They had either experienced not getting candidates that they were trying to hire, having their offers turned down, and then there was a lot of hiring decisions that were made quickly. And I found that we had companies looking to recover from that was a resilience of being able to look at a person that maybe was brought into the organization that was not a match, whether the skills didn't match or the culture fit didn't match. And that has an impact. Certainly there's the impact on the individual, which is unfortunate that they're in a role that's not a match, but there's a broader impact that's on the team that's surrounding that individual, and that is also the business itself. And we would see that companies that had hired very quickly had experienced sometimes mishiring, and their willingness to rectify that by either supporting the individual to help them address situations, whether it be skill-based, talking about cultural pieces and trying to foster that within the individual. Great first step. But in some cases, looking to acquire a new individual to do that role is what we experienced there. So we went through a lot of that in 2023 of companies having to come back to market to do that. Now, we didn't do all that. We weren't recommending all those poor hires, just to be clear on that, is that there was a lot of things that were happening and clients were asking us to come and help fix the problem there, which we were happy to do.
Completely understand. And this kind of leads into this sort of next section that I wanted to have the conversation with you, which is I'd love to get your leadership take on ingenuity, and more importantly, you're in the people business, the human side of ingenuity.
Yeah.
As it relates to your organization's success, what's your take in these turbulent times, whether one way or the other? When has it worked well? When has it not? What have you learned from it? and what are the insights that you're sharing with your team in how they might want to, this is now for fish, what are some of the things that you're changing at your end to adapt to both the candidate side and the client side?
Right, right. So within our organization, we were dealing with a market that was sort of contracting, right? So a market that was not as active as we had been through, a very boom time. And this has been very, very common for a lot of recruitment agencies, what they've been experiencing. And what I did is I started talking to lots of people. I used the opportunity to reignite previous relationships, to spend time talking with clients on what they were experiencing outside of the realm of hiring an individual and moving that, and then also reaching out into other areas of the network, just trying to gather information on how other people or industries were kind of going through this. And I encouraged my team to do the same, reaching out to people we've placed previously, reaching out to hiring managers, reaching out to their network to help kind of gather information that way as to what was going on. But also what we were doing is this activity was essentially adding to the top of the funnel of our process of engaging with more people. And part of it was being ready when the market was coming back for recovery, to be quite candid. And what we have already seen happen is, our current clients, we still continue to work with them through the slower period. But as we're coming out the other side, as I've already mentioned, is that we have engagements with clients, with new clients and new people and new opportunity, which are a direct impact from the work that we did when things were driven. So what we did is we really changed up our activity base and looked to follow it up with positive. As opposed to being a victim of circumstance and waiting for the market to tell us when it was ready, we were trying to poke and prod and learn different ways kind of through it too. To be honest too, and again, not to go too long about this, I also used it as an opportunity to experiment and retool and look at other areas of our business that when you're in high delivery mode, you don't always get that time to take a step back. So we evaluated a bunch of new technologies with AI coming in. We've tested and we implemented some changes on that side, as well as looking at our process and streamlining those things too. So although we would always be ready and rather to trade that for great projects, we did use the time productively through that period.
So you went on to AI. Are the recruiting firms dead in the future with everyone just, my agent will talk to your agent and we'll figure out the right fit for
Yeah.
the right organization? Is that where we are headed?
Yeah, well, as soon as I said AI, I knew you were going to ask a follow up on that. So perfect. And I would say is my first statement is that right now it's a great tool. It's a great tool. So it's something that will continue to improve the process. And so we've looked at it as such. I have not come across anything that I feel is going to run us out of business, but I've been in the recruiting space for a long time, and essentially it's been going out of business ever since I was in it. It was monsters going to destroy the category, but then it finds its place in the market, and I believe AI will be the thing there too. What I really do believe is we've implemented it in ways that have freed our team up from bottlenecks in the process. So it's actually creating more time for spending time with candidates and spending time with clients, which I believe levels up the whole experience for everybody and the deliverable there.
It's amazing. And I'm curious, what are the tools that I've found, and that's one of the ways in which I've stayed in touch with Fish, honestly, is your regular cadence of ebb and flow. It's always good to read a familiar name in there. Oh, look, a friend of mine is now moving from here to there, or oh, look, this ex-colleague is now going from here to there. I'm not suggesting that I read it, and I'm not like I don't read it every time from
Sure, sure.
end to end, but every now and then a name pops out, and that also becomes for me personally, it's been a catalyst to I need to give that person a call. I haven't met that individual for a while. So that's obviously how I have consumed it. But I don't see way too many search firms, executive search firms, headhunting firms use that as a tool while you were one of the pioneers of it. What was your thinking? Why did you do it? Is it still continuing? What purpose does it serve for you
Yeah,
guys, et cetera, et
yeah.
cetera?
So as a former marketer, Saquib, and you, I couldn't be happy. It's almost I had wrote that down and sent it to you and say, could you just say that back to me? I'm so happy to hear you say that. So the idea, I often interview a lot of people too. I interview a lot of people too, and it's interesting when you interview different people that have worked on a similar project and their take on it. And generally, I've found the person that has the most simplest explanation as to how it came back about is the person that actually came up with the idea. Okay. So of course there's all the research and everything to support it, but the initial, what about that is there? So I have there's another search firm that is in financial markets. And so the financial markets has this daily occurrence, which is the closing bell. Okay, so at 4 o'clock, markets close, the bell rings. It's all electronic now, but that happens. And so what this individual did is they had an announcement that would go out Friday, close of bell every Friday, which was announcing job changes that happened in their sector. And I have a number of contacts that work in that space. And forever they were saying, this is the number one piece that everybody reads, tracking what's going on. So that was where the idea had kind of come about. And we had also been doing a lot of other social experimenting at the time on what content was being consumed. And what we learned was our highest consumed forms of content were people doing job change. So announcements around that. And then the other piece was new roles. So anytime we posted something about new roles or someone taking a new job, the engagement of our social channels was much, much, much higher. So if you look at taking a step back, you look at hiring. So there's 365 days a year. The time when companies that we are working with that have a need, they're not planned. Like they come up at all these different times. So we try to be everywhere with all of our clients all the time, reminding them. But we've looked at our social program as being sort of to use a basketball analogy, the sixth person off the bench supporting our team, to be a low beacon that is like always there, reminding them that we're there. Because if you and I aren't talking about when you have that need, and we're off cycle of our communication and that, but our social media is there to remind you, like, oh yeah, I need to call James to do it. So the way you've expressed it is exactly the intention of why we do it. Of course, we have people that are coming back with, feedback the other way, but the majority of people that I hear from saying, oh, it's so great to see it. I read it every time and that. But the biggest piece for me is that when it goes out, on average, 3 to 6 people reach out to me immediately after they receive it, and we have a conversation about it, and that is amplified through our team. So it is accomplishing that, which is why we do it, because there are times where it's like change. Is this the most effective thing? But it is delivered business for us. It is delivered continuity and relationships. So thank you again for kind of saying that. But that's the reason why we've been doing it, and continue to support that.
It's all these I'll call them little things. I don't mean to belittle them. It's all these little things that said James has just got to come on this podcast. There's a lot of ingenuity there. Just thinking about your team. How about leadership? What do you, James, look for, groom for, nurture in people you hire and surround yourself with? Do you use a search firm?
There are search firms that focus on finding individuals for other search firms. I've definitely hired people that come out of recruitment and do that, but a lot of times I bring people in from industry. So it's not necessarily people that are interested in search is kind of something they're interested in, but they're subject matter experts in more subject matter experts in the field that they tend to recruit against there too. So I don't use a search firm to kind of do that. And what I look for in individuals is really curiosity and a connection to people. I've come across people that I would not classify as people in the search business, and I always find that a strange choice of career. But people that really enjoy helping individuals, really enjoy engagement, and can connect to the altruistic side of what we do is certainly important. If they come with subject matter expertise and an ability to get what they're doing, it just creates a better experience. Clients trust that individual. Candidate conversations are more engaged because there's a connection there. But then also is very self-motivated and driven to results, because ours is a very input in, output out sort of a process. You get in what you get out of it. So highly motivated, great people person, and know what they're up to is a good combination for the type of people we bring in.
Hey, any key advice you might want to throw
Sure.
out for candidates who are looking for a role right now, or any advice for your client that's looking for a candidate?
Yeah. Advice for candidates is, tracking the online piece, very frustrating to do it, but the conversation capital and watching what's happening in the market is something that's going to help you in your search. Tapping your network, talking to people that know you, support you, and are an advocate of yours is a great source there too. Aligning yourself with the recruiters that are supporting the spaces and the work that you're interested in is another great way to get access to the right type of roles too. So those are things I would do that. For clients, it's about envisioning the right outcome and bringing that all the way back through your process. What are the outcomes of the role? What are the expectations of the role? How do we back all of that up to make sure that we get that information to be able to make the hiring decision to bring the right person in for that? It sounds like a very candidate specific agenda. When you marry that up with a candidate that knows exactly what they want, and you have two parties that have clarity coming together, everybody benefits.
Sure.
When it's misaligned, that's when there's mishiring. That's where people are not satisfied in roles. So clarity and knowing the type of person of what you have to offer, and be prepared to kind of share that with the right people is always going to be the most effective way to bring people into your organization.
Cool. I'll give it one word, which is congruence, between what the client is looking for and between what the candidates are asking for. I think that congruence could help in a big way. James, thanks a lot. We came into this conversation. Obviously, I have a certain thought, a format, a way of coming at it. Let me give you the last word, which is, hey, you came into this conversation. You might have wanted to share something, but just because in the way how I've been asking these questions, you didn't get to. So let me give you the last word. Is there something that you want to share with our listeners, viewers, and please do.
Yeah, I would say that the companies that are going to win, whether it be through resilience, ingenuity, future proofing their organization, are companies that are recognizing the whole individual and supporting that. We've seen a big change over the years for you would just join a company because the company was the company that you wanted, and here's what it is. We've seen a shift to look for broader, greater representation, and companies are accruing that result. And now with the information, the tools, and everything that's available now, I think the next sort of genesis of it is going to be the individual development within your organization. And companies that are representing this sort of whole person development, I think, are the ones that are going to reap the benefits of attracting great people to your organization, keeping them engaged, and keeping them retained in your organization. Plus, by keeping them skilled and engaged there, your business is going to be buoyed by that too. So I think that's one of the things coming in that we, from our previous conversations, was a theme that I can't kick. Keep thinking about that. So that's another piece that I would share for people that are thinking about their organization and kind of how to maximize their individuals.
Thank you so much, James. This has been such a fascinating conversation. Loved having you. We'll probably have you come on again. I'm sure our listeners would like to hear more from you. So we'll tag you and Fish in our show notes. Thanks a lot, James.
Perfect. Thank you, Saquib. Really appreciate the time. Great to spend it with you. Thank you very much.